Yo, yo, it's your boy, Fro Thizzle in the building. And today, I'm going to be talking about the movies I watched in February 2023. So ain't nothing to it but to do it. Starting off with Knock at the Cabin. I reviewed this one, and it's on my channel if you haven't gotten a chance to see it. But long story short, I did enjoy this one. I liked the performances, I thought the tension had a nice build-up, and the dialogue made sense for me. Solid performances from the entire cast, mainly Batista and Ben Aldridge. One of Shyamalama Ding Dong's better films in quite a while for me. Rocky 3. Now this one was a rewatch, but I gotta say, I enjoyed this movie way more as an adult, more so than when I was a kid. In this installment, Rocky's on top of the world. He beat Apollo Creed at the end of 2. So when Mr. T pops up in 3, Rocky doesn't really take him as seriously at first, but he's forced to find his hunger again to beat his opponent, Clubber Lang, who's his toughest opponent in quite a while. But this one is easily one of my favorite films in the franchise. Mr. T kicks ass in his first appearance on film. He even gets to improvise his famous catchphrase, "I pity the fool." And I believe that's the first time we ever got to hear that catchphrase. But yeah, this movie's fucking awesome. Moving on to Rocky 4. As much as I love this movie, there is a weird kind of energy going on through it, and it does feel a bit different than the first 3, especially the first 2. I think the fourth one feels the most 80s for me. Spoilers for those who haven't seen 4. Skip to the next 20 seconds. But we're introduced to Drago, played by Dolph Lundgren, and he ends up killing Apollo Creed in the ring. Drago really wants to fight Rocky, even though Rocky feels like he already hung up his gloves. But after Apollo's death, Rocky, rightfully so, gets pissed off and goes after Drago. But I also enjoy 4. I think Drago's great. The fight is awesome at the end, very brutal and bloody. There is one thing, Paulie's robot. It's super fucking weird, and it's probably the wackiest thing out of the whole franchise. Very distracting, but I can't lie, I did get a big chuckle once or twice out of Polly bantering with the fucking robot. Or Polly programming the robot to be his wife. Really fucking bizarre, but a strange chuckle for me. I think in the director's cut, the robot isn't even in it. But yeah, I wouldn't have put the robot in the film. That's my personal view. Rocky 5. This film is my least favorite movie in the franchise. And I think it's everybody else's too. But at the same time, I don't shit on it as much as people do. There are things I do like about this film. My favorite scene is the one that everybody likes. It's the one where Rocky's remembering Mickey in the ring. Mickey's giving him a nice talk. "Get up, you son of a bitch, because Mickey loves you." 10 out of 10 scene for me in a not so great film. This is easily Stallone's worst performance in the whole franchise. Rocky's supposed to have a bit of brain damage after all these fights, but Stallone's playing him very awkward and slow and bizarre, and it doesn't work for me. Strangely, he doesn't do the act throughout the whole film. There's scenes where he is a bit more subtle, but about 80 or 70% of the film, he's just completely over the top. And man, the fucking Tommy Gunn character, man. In the beginning, I liked the character. I thought he was pretty cool. I felt like he had brute strength and, he used his strength more than his brains. But when we get to the middle towards the end, he turns into a complete fucking douchebag. He easily becomes one of the most unlikable characters in the whole franchise. Probably the most unlikable character. Tommy goes to Rocky to train him, and Rocky doesn't even want to do it. He's like, "Yo, I'm done, kid. What the fuck? What do you want from me?" And then Tommy ends up backstabbing Rocky, and it's just, man, what a fucking asshole. I don't love this movie, but there are things I do like about it. The 2014 flick, Ouija. This movie's trash. It's extremely unmemorable. You don't care about the characters. The scares are terrible. The jump scares are awful and very awkward. This movie sucks. Ouija Origin of Evil. Now, the prequel to the first film is an improvement. I care about the characters more. The performances are infinitely better. The jump scares are a little bit better, but they are still awkward. And the way they based this film in an earlier decade, telling the story of the family before the first film, I thought was a cool decision. I like the overall look of the film, like the grainy feel, so I did appreciate that. Long story short, decent film, not incredible, but better than the first. The Conjuring. This movie was a nice rewatch. I will admit, this one flew over my head the first time I saw it in theaters, but this time I enjoyed this movie way more. Thought the performances were great. The camera work was very well done from James Wan. I like the one takes, the tracking shots, really cool to look at, and a nice feel for me. I thought the Warrens were pretty interesting characters, played by Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson. I thought they did a good job playing these two. I am aware that this is based on real people. I did enjoy how they were tackling and going after cases, breaking them down step by step, their process of going after evil spirits and such. And I did like the family that we followed through the film. I thought the mom and dad were pretty likable. All of the kids didn't annoy me, so that's always a bonus because it's very easy for kids in movies to annoy the shit out of you, especially in a horror film. But The Conjuring, I didn't get that at all. I thought the kids all did a good job with what they were given. From the first to the middle half, it wasn't the scares that I loved the most about the movie. In fact, I thought the scares were a little bit underwhelming from the first to the middle half. I was mainly enjoying the film as a spirit catching case kind of movie and the Warrens helping this family out. I just love that aspect and the overall plot. But when we get to the last 30 or 40 minutes, this movie goes fucking bonkers. It turns into a complete batshit film. And honestly, that made me boost up my rating just a bit. I didn't remember the ending being so fucking crazy. The scares get turned up and I start feeling like, oh shit, this is actually really well done. But to sum it up, I think The Conjuring's a great film, and I enjoyed it way more on this rewatch. Hachi, A Dog's Tale. I want to save my thoughts on this one for a further review, but long story short, this movie's awesome. I thought Richard Gere did a nice job playing the professor. Hachi the dog is obviously very cute, very lovable. He is a bit hard-headed at times and very stubborn, but whenever he is, it's done in a very likable, lovable way. I will say this movie is pretty sad when we get to the third act or so, but I feel a very necessary watch. I'm a fan of Marley and Me. I think it's a pretty solid film, but I would put this one even above Marley and Me, and I do think that one's solid. We also have some nice supporting characters besides Richard Gere. The hot dog vendor played by Eric Avari is a nice guy. At first, it does take me a minute to like the professor's wife because she is a bit naggy in the first half, but her heart does start to warm up through the film, and you can't help but feel for the character and what she goes through. Awesome movie, especially a family movie. This one's an easy one to watch with your kiddos or with your wifey, whoever. But I really love this one. Review coming out soon for Hachi. Cocaine Bear. I got to see this one in the theater, and this movie's so stupid, but I had a blast. I thought it was pretty damn funny. I chuckled throughout. I'm a blood and gore guy, so I got my fix. I see a couple people saying they didn't care about the characters, but I did. I liked O'Shea Jackson Jr. in the movie. He gave me a couple chuckles here and there. My favorite performance was Alden Emmerich, if I'm saying his name right. He gave me the bigger laughs through the whole film. I thought he played his character rather well. The Save the Forest guys was pretty funny. He had a couple one-liners here and there. And we get to see Ray Liotta play the bad guy for the last time. I thought that was pretty cool. And despite how small his role is, I enjoyed his performance. I thought the bear was fine. I didn't think the effects looked terrible, and I didn't think they looked incredible. The bear's job was to sniff cocaine and devour humans, and I would say it did its job rather well. Me personally, I had a good time. So I rewatched the first Rocky film twice. Once was by myself in the theater, which was pretty cool. I had seen this movie 100 times, but this was my first time seeing it in the theater, and it was a great experience for me. Nearly every seat was taken, packed house, pretty cool crowd participation and reactions, and it was nice to see people love this movie as much as I do. The second time I rewatched it was with my bro What Up It's Casp. Check out his channel and his review of Rocky, the OG. But I'm going to save my further thoughts for my review as well. I'm going to put out probably around next week. Oh yeah, and I also rewatched Rocky 2. I got to put my boy Casper on that one as well. Me personally, I have Rocky 1 and 2 nearly side by side. I love them almost equally. Of course, I have the OG edging out 2 just by a bit. But 2 has my favorite opening title sequence of the whole franchise. It's very simple with the ambulance driving through the streets, but the music playing is 11 out of 10. I love this version of the Rocky theme the most. Both fantastic films and a fantastic franchise besides 5. I only got to watch one series, or mini-series at that, and that was Chernobyl. This one was always on my watch list forever since it came out, but I never got to it. Recently got to finally peep it, and I gotta say, this series is pretty damn solid. Great performances, great writing, the story keeps you invested. There's some rather gruesome imagery of how the workers and everybody close to the fucking power plant are affected when the explosion happens. There's a whole bunch of government corruption going on, very secretive shit, and there's some moments that are pretty nail-biting with some solid tension. I will admit there are pockets through the 5 episodes where I felt that it did drag just a bit because it's very dialogue heavy. Very the nuclear set off the reactors and the reactivity and the zirons and the neutrons and protons, all that type of stuff can miss me a bit, especially when I'm smoking a little something. I'm like, damn, that's okay. I gotta just rewatch that a little bit just to pick up what the fuck this guy just said. But I can also recognize that the dialogue is handled very well written. Awesome series, and I do recommend it. But that's it, y'all. That's what I watched in February 2023. I appreciate y'all for watching. Stay tuned and click that bell because I'm going to be dropping reviews all through March. Peace.